Tech Cocktail Conversations, candid insights from startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders from around the globe.
Mobile Future is based in Washington, D.C., and we're there for a reason. We started Mobile Future with a very clear view that the folks who are in places like Austin and Silicon Valley and the East Bay and Portland and all over the country who are out there swinging from the heels, trying to come up with really exciting new mobile innovations, technology, services, applications, folks who are building the networks, creating tools and platforms and devices to serve the mobile world, have very important perspectives and ideas about the future of our ecosystem, and that story really needs to be told in a much more simple and better way so that the folks in places like Washington, D.C., who are regulating and legislating about mobile and wireless technology can really understand what's going on so that we can have the best chance that the business models and the really cool and important new technologies we're putting out in the market won't be killed in their infancy because of bad policy. With the introduction of this next phase of innovation in our internet-enabled world, which is mobility, it's really stood the whole concept of the utility of technology on its head. Mobility now is truly our economy. Mobility is the basis of virtually every kind of social, cultural, economic, interpersonal interaction that we have and will continue to have. Mobility has become the platform that's really driving not only the way that we're living and working and playing, but it's also becoming so integrally involved in how we're envisioning the next really important phases of our evolution as a society. The way that we're going to actually be taking care of ourselves through healthcare, the way that we're going to be educating our kids, ourselves as we go older, the way that we're engaging in our politics is all being built increasingly on mobile and wireless platforms. Mobile first is, in fact, I think, the mantra of the 21st century, because it's not only connecting us to new ways of doing things, it's also connecting us to everybody else in the world, a world that today, this year, for the first time, a world that has more mobile subscriptions than people. The next phase of mobility, in a sense, is not just how we humans are interacting and interconnecting, it's how things are going to be interacting and interconnecting. There's a term that's called the Internet of Things. We at South by Southwest have given a lot of time and attention to thinking about, well, what that means. John Chambers at Cisco has predicted that by the decade's end, that's only 6 years away, there's going to be 50 billion connected devices, which is going to create, believe it or not, a new global industry that's going to be valued at about $2 trillion. Imagine the new entrants, the new kinds of technologies, the new kinds of technology and human ecosystems that are going to be created to support that new world. And when all of these devices, all of these wireless sensors are connected, and the data that they're going to create are going to make it unimaginably hopeful to begin to think through all of the new applications and services that are going to make our lives as human beings a lot more manageable and a lot more productive. To me, one of the more exciting areas of the development of mobility is the world that I'm calling the Internet of You. Every year, 400,000 Americans have a wireless device, similar to a smartphone, implanted in their body. It's called a pacemaker. The evolution from there of implanted wireless devices that are going to be able to help us read our blood sugar, deliver drugs, make sure that our various metrics or where they need to be, talking to the cloud, speaking to our physicians who then will create this virtuous closed loop by reporting back to us what we need to do to stay healthy. It's very, very exciting. And we literally are just in the first innings of this wildly exciting innovation cycle. And who knows what the future is going to bring. Increasingly, government is becoming a very, very important player in determining not just what products get to markets, but what business models get to markets, because they're creating regulatory and legislative frameworks about many different aspects of our world in mobile and wireless entrepreneurship that we really need to care about. There are a whole different range of areas that government's focusing on that are important to tech entrepreneurs that might not be part of their day-to-day work, but they need to be thinking about. and making sure that our policymakers are getting right. And that starts with the fundamental issue of electromagnetic spectrum. We're building all of these really cool and amazing new devices and platforms, but we have to remember that just like cars that need gasoline, mobile and wireless devices need spectrum in order to be able to continue to function. And spectrum is in very, very short supply. You can't create any more of it. Most of it's already allocated. In the United States, we're already at 80% capacity of our national spectrum needs. We're beginning to experience in communities around the country, particularly urban communities, kind of like rolling blackouts where we're reaching spectrum crunches in a number of different environments. We need to make sure as entrepreneurs, as innovators, even if we're small companies, that our legislators and our regulators and our folks at the White House and our folks in the state houses keep their eyes on the prize of making sure that we get as much new spectrum into the system as possible to continue to fuel new and exciting innovations in mobile, and that, equally importantly, that we make sure that our government, which not only owns all of the spectrum, but controls most of it for its own use, begins to give back for commercial use parts of the bands of spectrum that they might have but are not really using. And that's a lot of what we're focusing on at Mobile Future. Some call it boring work, but it's really important. At Mobile Future, our mission is not only to help educate policymakers and others about all the really cool things that are going on in mobile and wireless innovation, but in a sense, our mission is very, very similar to the mission of Tech Cocktail, which is to bring innovators together, not only to share ideas, but to bring them together in common cause to understand that what we're building, what we're dreaming about, what we're trying to deliver actually has really important human consequences that are actually making the planet a lot better. So it's a real pleasure for Mobile Future to team up with Tech Cocktail here at South by Southwest, and we hope to be able to do so again in a lot of different ways.